The magic school bus lost in the solar system. It was trip day again in Miss Frizzle's class. Everyone was excited. We were going to the planetarium to see a sky show about the solar system. Arnold's cousin Janet was visiting our class for the day. I know all of you will be nice to our guest, said the Frizz. We tried to be nice to Janet, we really did. As we got on the school bus, we told her that Miss Frizzle is the weirdest teacher in school. But Janet wasn't interested. She wanted to tell us about herself. As usual, it took a while to get the old bus started, but we finally were on our way. As we were driving, Miss Frizzle told us all about how the earth spins like a top as it moves in its orbit. It was just a short drive to the planetarium, but Miss Frizzle talked fast. When we got to the planetarium, it was closed for repairs. Class, this means we'll have to return to school, said the Frizz. We were so disappointed. On the way back, we were waiting at a red light. Something amazing happened. The bus started tilting back. As we heard the roar of rockets, oh dear, said Miss Frizzle. We seemed to be blasting off. When the roar of the rockets stopped, we looked around. Everything had changed. The bus had turned into a spaceship. We were all dressed in spacesuits, and we were lighter than feathers. We floated above our seats. Far behind in the black sky, we saw the planet Earth getting smaller and smaller. We were traveling in space. We had become astronauts. The Frizz said our first stop would be the moon. We got off the bus and looked around. There was no air, no water, and no sign of life. All we saw were dust and rock and lots of craters. Miss Frizzle said the craters were formed billions of years ago when the moon was hit by meteorites. Meteorites are falling chunks of rock and metal. It was fun on the moon. We wanted to play, but Miss Frizzle said it was time to go. So we got back on the bus. We'll start with the sun, the center of the solar system, said the Frizz, and we blasted off. We zoomed toward the sun, the biggest, brightest, and hottest object in the solar system. Jets of super hot gases shot out at us from the surface. Thank goodness Miss Frizzle didn't get too close. She steered around to the other side and pulled away. We'll be seeing all the planets in order, class. Mercury's the first planet, the closest to the sun. Mercury was a dead, sun-baked planet. This planet is a lot like our moon. There's no water, hardly any air, said the Frizz. Notice the craters on its surface as we passed by. Before long, we felt ourselves being pulled in by the gravity of Venus, the second planet from the sun. Venus was completely covered by a thick layer of yellowish clouds. We will now explore the surface of Venus, said Miss Frizzle. Below the clouds, Venus was as dry as a desert. The ground was covered with rocks and it was hot. It was about 460 degrees Celsius. That's much hotter than an oven baking cookies. The air was so heavy we could feel it pressing down on us. Miss Frizzle said there are active volcanoes around too. We said, let's get out of here. Our next stop is Mars, the red planet, fourth from the sun. On our way, we'll be passing through the orbit of Earth, the third planet. The bus lifted off with a roar. As we came close to Mars, we passed its two moons, which are called Phobos and Deimos. Compared to our moon, they were tiny, and they weren't even round. Looking down, we saw a huge canyon. Miss Frizzle said it was as long as the United States. There was a volcano 3 times taller than the tallest volcano on Earth, and all around there were channels that looked like dried up riverbeds. We landed and started walking around. Suddenly, a huge dust storm blew up. Miss Frizzle said dust storms on Mars can last for months. They may cover the whole planet. We scrambled back on the bus and headed out. Mars is the last of what we call the inner planets, Miss Frizzle shouted above the roar of the rockets. We will now be going through the asteroid belt to the outer planets. Thousands of asteroids were spinning all around us. All at once we heard the tinkling of broken glass. One of our taillights had been hit by an asteroid. Miss Frizzle put the bus on autopilot and went out to take a look. She kept on talking about asteroids over the bus radio. Suddenly there was a snap. Miss Frizzle's tether line had broken without warning. The rockets fired up and the bus zoomed away. The autopilot was malfunctioning. On the radio, Miss Frizzle's voice grew fainter and fainter. Then she was gone. We were on our own. We were lost in the solar system. Most of us were too scared to move, but Janet started searching the bus, and in the glove compartment she found Miss Frizzle's lesson book. As she began reading from it, a huge planet came into view. Class, this is Jupiter, Janet read. It's the first of the outer planets and the largest planet in our solar system. We thought the school bus was going to land, but there was no solid ground to land on. Jupiter is a gas giant, a planet made almost entirely of gas. As we left Jupiter, we wondered and worried, would we ever get home? The next sight made us forget our troubles. It was Saturn, a gas planet like Jupiter. It had swirling clouds and lots of moons. But the most incredible thing about Saturn was its rings. It was the most beautiful planet in the solar system. Next was Uranus, a blue-green gas planet with faint gray rings and moons. Some scientists think they may be made of chunks of graphite, the material used in pencils on Earth. The bus was going faster and faster, and we couldn't control the autopilot. We swept past stormy Neptune, another blue-green planet, 8th from the sun. All we could think about was finding Miss Frizzle. We were going so fast, we almost missed the 9th planet, tiny Pluto, and its moon. We were so far away from the sun that it didn't look big anymore. It just looked like a really bright star. We were leaving the solar system. Janet flipped rapidly through Miss Frizzle's book. Suddenly she found something new, the instructions for the autopilot. We punched in asteroid belt on the control panel. Slowly the bus turned around. It was working. We were going back. When we reached the asteroid belt, there was Miss Frizzle. With Frizzy back at the wheel, the bus headed straight for Earth. We re-entered the atmosphere and landed with a thud and looked around. We were in the school parking lot again. The rockets were gone, the spacesuits were gone, the bus was a wreck. Everything was back to normal. In the classroom, we made a terrific chart of the planets and a model of the solar system. At last, it was time to go home. It had been a typical day in Miss Frizzle's class. Now we had only one problem. Would anyone ever believe us when we told them about our trip?